my god!
Yeah. Yeah, I did the thing. No, they did not laugh. I don't know. Yeah? Well, I don't think that's the case. Why? How dare you insult the beard?
So there's this movie from the 80s that's about a misfit group of kids that are faced with a threat. Now, the adults don't listen to them, so it's up to the kids to save the day. With the help of a friendly monster that they meet along the way, they're victorious in their task. Now, depending on what kind of a movie buff you are, I've just described one of two movies. For most people, that movie is The Goonies. And it's understandable, it's a very popular movie. A lot of people love it. But, for an even smaller amount of people, there's another movie that I've described. And that is The Monster Squad. Now, these movies, as you can tell by the introduction, have a lot of similarities. So, just for fun, let's pit them against each other and see how they stand up to each other. Not to be confused with creativity, this category is going to focus more on which movie came first. Now, since it's pretty impossible to determine which filmmaker had the idea first, we're just going to have to go by when the theatrical releases of both movies were. Now, The Goonies was released in 1985, and The Monster Squad was released in 1987. So, first round's easy enough. The Goonies gets the point. Both movies have very creative plots that capture the attention of their audience. The Goonies tells the story about a group of kids who hunt for pirate treasure while weaving through a maze of booby traps and evading a family of criminals. They do this as a means of saving their homes. On the other hand, The Monster Squad tells a story about a group of kids who discover the existence of supernatural monsters and their plan to take over the world. The kids then decide that they must go head-to-head with said monsters in order to save all of humanity from evil. Now, because of the conflict and the outcome being much more severe, I'm going to have to go ahead and give The Monster Squad 1 point.
And you guys, Dracula might be here too. Aw man, fat kid farted.
The Goonies earned itself a PG rating, although it does have kids swearing and a recently deceased body. The Monster Squad, on the other hand, earned itself a PG-13 rating. Now, this is because it has kids swearing, kids killing monsters in graphic ways, kids smoking, and it also has a couple of more mature themes, such as the Holocaust and marital distress. Because of this, The Monster Squad is definitely the edgier movie.
You're not a virgin, are you? No? No, what do you mean, no? Well, Steve, but he doesn't count! Doesn't count!
Both movies have an original orchestral score, as well as pop music that was specifically written for the movies. The Goonies has the score written by Dave Grusin, and it's a very memorable score with a lot of different themes that people just recognize as soon as they hear it as being from the Goonies. The score from The Monster Squad was written by Bruce Broughton, and while it's not quite as memorable as the score from the Goonies, it does just capture the emotion and mood of the scenes from The Monster Squad perfectly. Bruce Broughton did a fantastic job with that. The Goonies also has a Cyndi Lauper song, and as much as I want to deny it, it's actually a very catchy tune. The Monster Squad also has a pop song written for it by the same name, but a lot of people refer to it as the Monster Squad Rap, which plays during the credits. And it's very cringeworthy. However, this is made up for by the awesome montage song Rock Until You Drop. While The Goonies doesn't have an awesome montage song like the Monster Squad does, its score is still more memorable, so I'm going to go ahead and give it the point for the soundtrack. In the Goonies, Chunk befriends the gentle giant that is known as Sloth. In the Monster Squad, Phoebe befriends Frankenstein's monster. Both relationships are very close, but one of them is short-lived. At the end of Monster Squad, Phoebe and Frankie are separated when he's sucked into oblivion, and it's a very sad moment. However, at the end of the Goonies, it's established that somehow Chunk is going to adopt Sloth, and I can only imagine that the two of them will spend the rest of their days just living together as BFFs. So, I'm going to have to go ahead and give Goonies 1 point.
Sloth, you're gonna live with me now.
Chunk teaches Sloth a few phrases in the Goonies, but none are more memorable than the "Hey you guys" war cry. Likewise, Phoebe teaches Frankenstein some phrases in the Monster Squad, but his aren't quite as memorable, as the main one is just bogus. And it doesn't really stand out so much as it's just more of a sign of the times from the 80s surfer lingo. So because of that, Goonies gets another point.
Hey, you guys!
That's right! Both of these movies has a token fat kid. The Goonies has Chunk with his clumsiness and his signature truffle shuffle. He also provides hilarious stories throughout the film. But the Monster Squad's token fat kid is so token, even his friends call him Fat Kid. He also has hilarious dialogue, including perhaps one of the most epic lines ever uttered in a movie. Wolfman's got nards. While Chunk is definitely the most iconic Fat Kid, the Monster Squad's Fat Kid has a greater character arc. During the final fight of the film, he goes from being a coward to a total badass when he kills the creature with a shotgun. When his bullies finally show him a little respect by saying,
Hey, Fat Kid, good job.
My name is Horace.
the Monster Squad gets the point.
Ah, shit!
Both groups of kids are faced with villains that pursue them throughout the movie. In the Goonies, it's the Fratelli family who chase after them in hopes of gaining the pirate treasure for themselves, and also because they've seen too much. While the Fratelli family does have evidence of being murderers, what's shown to the audience is mostly just an interaction of the slapstick nature between them and the kids. In the Monster Squad, the kids are pitted against Dracula, the Wolfman, the Mummy, the creature from the Black Lagoon, and Frankenstein in the beginning. All of which are obviously more deadly villains and are probably a bit more harder to kill than the Fratellis. Although I don't think the Goonies actually wanted to kill the Fratellis. The monster's goal in the movie is to retrieve an amulet that the kids have, and this amulet will allow them to take over the world. But they do anything they can to get this amulet, including going through a whole barrage of police officers, killing them. Because they're such a greater threat, the Monster Squad's villains definitely earn them the point.
Meeting adjourned.
Not only do both groups have villains, but they also have bullies. In the Goonies, it's the preppy kids of the businessmen who are trying to take their parents' homes. They're pretty generic jock bullies who are just bratty and eventually get their comeuppance. The bullies from the Monster Squad, though, are just a bit more unique. Their insults are actually really creative and funny, even though you're not supposed to want to laugh at them.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our show. Tonight's question, what makes Fat Kid fat? Fat Kid?
Get out of here, EJ.
Get out of here, Jim.
Nope,
Not a good
nope.
answer.
Doesn't make any sense.
Let's go to our man on the street. Derek?
Hi, I'm Derek, and I'm in the street. Fat Kid is blocking traffic.
And much like Horace, The bullies themselves even have a character arc, which is kind of unusual when you think about it. They eventually show Horace respect because of his heroism, and are even shown hugging members of the Monster Squad at the end of the movie. Bonus points, the main bully, EJ, was actually the kid who played Fred Savage's older brother in the Wonder Years. So, we're gonna go ahead and give Monster Squad another point for its bullies.
Oops. That's alright. I guess I must have a stupidity problem.
Believe it or not, both movies actually have prominent product placement of candy bars. In the Goonies, it's the Baby Ruth, and then in the Monster Squad, it's the Snickers. Chunk offers Sloth a Baby Ruth to kind of gain his loyalty or friendship or whatever, and thus is born the saying of Ruth, Ruth, Baby Ruth. In the Monster Squad, it's involved in the first interaction of Fat Kid Horace and his bullies, where Horace is eating a Snickers bar and EJ takes the bar from him, knocks it out of his hand, and steps on it on the ground. At any rate, Snickers are delicious, and it's the clear winner of this round.
Rudy,
You dropped your candy bar, EJ.
The Goonies has always been the more popular of the two movies, and because of this, it's had a consistent run of home video releases. From the VHS in 1986, to the Laserdisc in 1992, to the DVD in 2001, and finally the Blu-ray in 2010. The Monster Squad, on the other hand, bombed during its theatrical release, but it did garnish a strong cult following with its VHS and Laserdisc release. Unfortunately, the 1988 release of the VHS and the ultra-rare Laserdisc were the only real releases for the Monster Squad up until the 2007 DVD release and the 2009 Blu-ray release. This large gap between the updated media releases is one of the main reasons why it remains such a cult-following movie. In terms of special features, the latest releases for both movies have about the same, which is a lot. They both have making-of featurettes, multiple audio commentaries, then and now features involving the cast, how they were then as opposed to how they are now, deleted scenes, and trailers. However, the Goonies has a bit more to offer, as the special edition release has not only the Blu-ray, but also an informational booklet, which has many pages of information on the cast. It's actually dated as it was back then, not like a current release, but how it might have been released back in the 80s. And on top of that, it's got some storyboards and a freaking board game. A board game. Because of all of this, the Goonies gets the point for the home video release. A board game.
We're the Monster Squad.
Well, it was a close one, but it looks like the Monster Squad comes out ahead by just 1 point. But again, this competition was just for fun, as both movies are amazing and very entertaining. Who knows, if it hadn't been for the Goonies, there might not have ever been a Monster Squad. At any rate, if you're a fan of the Goonies and you've never seen the Monster Squad, do yourself a favor and check it out. As of September 2015, Netflix has added the Monster Squad to its online streaming library, so it's just in time for Halloween to watch a nice monster movie. So do yourself a favor, pull out some popcorn, give yourself a nice little viewing of it. It's a great movie. This is Joe from The Wrong Channel, wishing you a happy Halloween. There's a train. We're gonna wait for the train. Really? Yeah, go out with a bang, why don't you? Come on. Trying to do something here! Thank you.